措施，那个两盏灯会开了。Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo Sadanto Suchedoye Balahudi Samyao Samputosye.
Namo Sadanto Suchedoye Alahadi Samyao Sambuddhosye.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿皆如来真实义。The unsurpassed, deep, profound, subtle, wonderful Dharma in hundreds of thousands is difficult to encounter. Now that I've come to receive and hold it within my sight and hearing, I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual meaning. Venerable Master and Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture this evening. 师父上人，各位师兄，我们今天继续讲《大方广佛华严经》十地品的第七地。We're going to continue explaining, looking into the seventh ground of the 10 grounds of the Flower Garland Sutra. So we're going to begin by invoking the spiritual presence that brings us this text, and it's on the front cover of your book. We do the Chinese, and if you can read the Chinese characters, you're all set. If you are still learning your Chinese characters, you can read the romanization, N-A-M-O-D-A-F-A-N-G, down below there. So we'll do that 7 times. And essentially what we're doing is inviting, it says, homage to, Namo, I return to. You could say we open up our potential to hear. We kind of make room in our hearts for the Buddhist Flower Garland Sutra. This is a text the Buddha spoke. And the Ocean-Wide Flower Garland Assembly. Ocean-wide means big, just vast. Flower Garland Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So, in other words, this text brings with it spiritual presence of different an entire community of beings who, when the wisdom wheel, when the Dharma wheels turn, they come around. They want to hear more. So that's the idea. So if we're sincere and say, let's try it, see what happens, that's enough. That's all you have to do. It's with an open heart to just say, I'd like to learn more. So, here we go. Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Bo Pu Sa Na Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Bo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Bo Pu Sa Na Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Bo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Bo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Bo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Bo Pu Sa. You know how fast could we take some of the edge off that so it doesn't echo? We've got a reverb in there somewhere. You know how fast pop culture moves when this used to be called a Britney Spears mic? It's not anymore. Who? Please turn to page 52, 50 and 51. That's pretty good. Just maybe even a little less. Told you wrong. We're on page 52, 53. Sorry, 52, 53. We have already covered this ground before, but we're going to go back because this is the good stuff. I was away for months, and this was my presence on a Saturday night was seen on a pixelated monitor. Some question about whether the Dharma actually communicates virtually that way, but try your best. So, this, as I was explaining the text back then, sitting in Queensland, Australia, and having the wanting to connect it here to Berkeley, I made a mental note that it would be great to underline this by doing it again, saying what this is about, and seeing if that's it, seeing if it's about that, and getting people's responses. So, if you recall, I gave you homework last week. Sweating. It's in my notes. I made notes. Homework was, is that second statement the case for you? How does it connect? What's the second statement? Go to the bottom of the page and go up 3 paragraphs. I just lost volume. What happened here? It just fell off. Isn't that funny? It's a muffled now. It was too sharp then, and yeah. Anyway, we're working with it. This is good. That's much better. Good. Thank you, Jerry. K. The definition of Shila, ethics, paramita, is the ability to extinguish all the heat generated by afflictions, is what it said. Now that is particularly impenetrable Buddhist jargon, right? Let's see if we can make sense of it. I'm going to go over here to the 3rd line in the Chinese, put my palms together, and I'll give you some words and you give them back, right? We're on the Neng Mie Yi Qie, that one. Ready? Here we go. Neng Mie Yi Qie. 诸烦恼热，是命施罗波罗蜜。 Okay, over to the right. Here we go. Let's in unison. Ready? The definition of the Shila ethics paramita is the ability to extinguish all the heat generated by afflictions. Great. What in the world is going on? And in Detroit, when I was growing up, that was followed by, if you read the news, you know. That was their jingle. What in the world is going on? That was the Detroit News' TV jingle. So what in the world is going on here? We are investigating bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas are the spiritual heroes of this text. They're the protagonists of the story being told here. Bodhisattvas are people who are unselfish, people who live for others. And by living for others, they live for themselves. But they are decidedly altruistic, generous, big-hearted people who put others' well-being before their own. Want to know who could possibly do such a thing? Think of your mom. That's a bodhisattva-like behavior who, in order to keep you alive, made life very uncomfortable for herself. And bodhisattvas do that to an ultimate point. Now, is it just good wish? Is it a good heart? It arises from seeing, as our text gives it to us. Bodhisattvas have gone through the sense that they exist as an independent unit. broken from the rest. They have seen through this constructed ego, the idea that I am made up of my body, my possessions, my accomplishments, or even more subtle, that I'm made up of my eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, my experiences, my way of thinking. A bodhisattva is someone. Bodhi is awakened, sattva is a being, so they're awakened beings. We're going to probably import that word wholesale into English. So bodhisattva is going to be, bit by bit, it's going to be adopted into English. So bodhisattvas sit and practice, and they work with that self. They don't do things to increase its, what's the word, hegemony, its power, its rulership over their lives. They do things that weaken that. So if you want to see something that makes the self bigger, watch advertising. Grab for all the gusto you can get. You only go around once in this world. Selling beer, Budweiser, right? You deserve a break today, so get out and get away. You know, how many ads say, the good thing about this product is it makes other people happy. So if you buy it, you know, you're really buying, you're helping yourself by giving, please give this away as soon as you can, right? Won't sell product. So advertising is there to enhance that me, that isolated monad unit, right? Buddha Dharma says, well, that works if you're selling products, make you wealthy, keeps the wheels of industry turning, but it won't increase your wisdom, because why? That ain't the way it is. That's the way it isn't. Prove it, sit still until you see through it. It's, in fact, it's what we're taught that keeps that illusion together. I've been living with creatures in a forest in what's called the bush, the Queensland bush, right where Queensland meets New South Wales, down in the southeastern corner, right on the coast of Queensland. And living in the forest, in the bush, I'm surrounded by animals and birds and reptiles and arachnids and insects and critters I didn't know existed. Marsupials, right? Pouch creatures. And what you see is that hunger is the issue. Appetite is the issue. Those folks, those winged, furred, feathered, finned, scaly critters live to eat. Not exclusively. After they eat, they reproduce, and then they have the same jobs that your mom and dad had, or that you had if you're a mom or dad. They raise their kids, and that's very sophisticated. A lot of rules, a lot of knowledge goes into raise a successful baby possum and a pair of young kookaburras. You have to know stuff. You have to execute it on time correctly before the kids grow up. So I came to observe all of that knowledge. But what impressed me was that the couples mate for life. They are monogamous, with few exceptions. We had a magpie couple. Magpies are these big black and white birds, very much like crows or ravens. They're not corvid family, but they're similar. They're big birds, and they live really close to people. They're totally okay with people being right in among them. And this couple of magpies would always be together. You'd see one over here walking, kind of checking things out, and you know that within 20 feet, if you look, you'll see the other one. They were always together. And we got to know their habits and watched them build their nest and come down, and One of them was waiting for the offering to the pung bird. We always offer up a little bit of food every day, and as soon as you put the food out, and you think, is that a good thing for you to do? Do you become a pung bird, or are you stealing from the triple jewel? The magpie's going, see you tomorrow. That's pretty good. I like the bread better than the rice. The more bread's good. So they really had character. And then one day, only one showed up. And we were all thinking, maybe it's took a vacation or something. Maybe it's around the corner or didn't get up on time. Nope, only one. Either the husband or the wife was gone. And of course, we're projecting like mad, watching sadness and grief in the remaining one who was still there. Maybe we weren't projecting. Maybe we were picking it up, but it looked sad. It was all alone now. And we talk about it. Just one, right? Yeah. What do they do? When they mate for life and the mate is gone, what happens? And so we watch him. The solo remaining magpie would kind of walk around, and we were so used to seeing the two of them together, it never looked complete. So 3 weeks before I came back, I'm happy to report that I came down for lunch. Here was the male magpie, and there was a partner walking side by side with him, and he moved on and healed his grief. And so it was, heard violins. So it was, good to see. And they were inseparable, just walking along like that. And yeah, that's nice. I mean, not a lot of humans can pull that off. That's one kind of things you see. And some of the other bird wisdom that you observe is parents feed their kids. The babies are, this happen. They come out of the nest at a certain point and they start to fly. But they're not able to provide their own food. And so the parents will get a chunk of food and fly it up and beak feed it to the babies. And babies are squalling, this incessant racket of I'm hungry, the bottomless pit, feed me. And the parents are, whew, whew, whew. And I know about this because I got incorporated into the food train. They figured out that I was a source of food, and so the parents would land in front of me and look, like that. And I'd hand them, choom, feed the baby, plop, more, And okay, sure, and watch this. And I actually got it on film after a while. But just to say, unselfish behavior is innate in species. And in the case of the kookaburras who were the feeding the baby kookaburras, it was the dad. The dad. And he could have easily have gone gulp and swallowed the piece down. He didn't. I was feeding him veggie ham, this soy protein, washing the salt out of it. And he would take a piece and fly off, and the baby would go, the squawk would stop for it as long as it took to swallow it. One breath, more of that. So amazing. And you could see that the parents were concerned. They were, I don't want to say afflicted, but they were busy. They weren't carefree and kind of satisfying their appetite. They had another concern. And there's a lot of, we laugh at bird brains, right? But those bird brains had a motive, which was stop that noise, feed that baby, take care of them. So fascinating to see how nature, manifesting in the form of birds, in this case, can be unselfish. That's a virtue
that exists in nature beyond human whatever. The Bodhisattva. Now, is it the case that the bird is selfless? What is the bird's concept of self? That would take a lot of research. You'd have to guess a lot, learn bird speak. But certainly birds sacrifice their health to feed their children, put their kids first for that period of time. Fascinating, there's a footnote, this doesn't relate to the text, but there is a time when the baby bird gets kicked out of the nest harshly, no question. Dad, at one point, turns on the male baby and rams him with his beak and knocks him out of the tree. And the kid is like, Dad, what? You know, and from that time on, he's on his own, kicking out of the nest. And I don't know if I'm not a parent. I've never done that to a child of mine. But apparently, it's I don't know. Maybe until education loans are paid back, you have to delay that process or something. Kids have to live in the basement for a while. But it's an issue definitely in the bird world that as soon as the child is mature and competition, maybe for the spouse, he's got to go find his own turf. Interesting. So, neither here nor there. But here's an unselfish person. Bodhisattvas. They are unselfish because their wisdom shows them that the self is simply a way of seeing. What do they see instead? They work in their meditation bit by bit with the understanding that we are not only a lot alike with other humans, not only a lot alike with other species, we are identical. The phrase for it in Chinese is Tong Ti Da Bei, same body, great compassion, one body. And it's not warm and fuzzy, it's not a feeling, they see it. Start with earth, right? This is analytical. This is observation. It's empirical. It's you prove it. Watch, look, find the hard parts in your body, and you start. You go, okay, right, right. This is bone, sinews, hair, teeth, nails. Go, recycles when you're dead. Put it in the ground, it goes away. It goes back, right? Same with me, same with 8 generations of ancestors, same with 8 generations going the other way, same with turtles, same with whales, same with insects. Going to happen, okay? It's earth, right? There's one, water, fire, air. They go through all the elements and they go, right, came from somewhere, borrowed temporarily, currently, embodied now, incorporated in the corpse, and going out. Going to go. They go, same. What's the difference? None. Can't find any, right? Buddha would say, look into it. Try to find how you're different and special, and you can't. And then you connect it to lions. Boy, article in the New York Times today. Lions may be gone in our lifetime. Only in zoos. Poachers. Can't hire enough, what do they call them? Rangers, wardens, to keep the poachers from killing the lions. They know how many there are, and they're shrinking fast. So look quick. We'll probably be left with virtual lions from Pixar or something before we're gone. So, same body. Earth, air, fire, water. Okay, if this is all the same, not just humans that look like us, but other creatures too, then you ask yourself, well, what is different? Is there anything different in there? And that's a really interesting question because you get to the thing inside. And what is that thing inside? And, many names. From the point of view of the the Buddha's analysis that he says you can do and encourages you to do, he would call it the Buddha nature, the awakened nature. And you wouldn't be too far wrong if you called it the human nature with its potential for awakening. That would be the Buddha nature. Human nature. So that thing inside, call it the soul. Soul, it's okay to call it the soul because why? We don't know what the soul is. Nobody owns it. Christian, Jewish, in Judaism they call it ruach. It's the breath. The breath is the soul. If there's another branch of Judaism that talks about it as light that escaped from shattering spheres, Sephirot. This is the Kabbalah, and they have a very interesting theory about where that thing came from and what it's trying to do. It's trying to break it, take its small spark back to the big spark of the Ein Sof, all that is. Sounds a little bit like the Buddha nature. Interesting. Okay, so ultimately ungraspable because we are it. It is us. It's hard to say I got it because there's no limit to it. You can't draw a circle around it, can't weigh it, can't sell it. So that thing can't go too far wrong by saying it's the same. It's the same. Why is my share of the Buddha nature unique and different and special from your share of the Buddha nature? The answer would be because it ain't. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere, right? Bodhisattva looks at this and goes, right, things that I want, things that I fear, person next to me wants and fears, pretty much. And that bird looking for its mate that somehow got, caught by a cat, run over, trapped, poisoned, is the same. It's me, no different. So if that is true, then you make some conclusions. One conclusion that the sutra talks about is, if you can see through the self, suffering goes away. It's not easy. It doesn't go by itself. You have to look, to understand its cause. And the sixth ground, the one we just finished with, is one place where that cause is explained in detail. The Buddha said it's caused by a series of conditions linking together. When we wake up, when we get what's called Bodhi, awakening, you see that that is voluntary. That linking is a choice we make, and you can unchoose it. You can decide not to link cause, ignorance, conditions, activities, conditions, consciousness, conditions, names and form, etc. Those 12 links, you can unlink them when ignorance goes away. So that's how they unlink. Bodhisattva says, right, wakes up. But then he looks out and he sees people and other beings on either side of him or her and says, but they're not awake yet. I care about them. They're suffering like mad. I want to wake them up. Because I'm not completely awake until everybody's awake, says the Bodhisattva. By the way, those windows can close. If you're, Monica, if you're chilly, you can close those over there too. Don't feel like Buddhists like freezing drafts, somehow. Warm is good. So, Bodhisattva looks at those suffering living beings and says, I want to wake them up. Because why? They're me. And that's the altruistic motive. At the same time, when I say you make some decisions based on that vision, at the same time the Bodhisattva says, I'm not going to do anything to make them hurt more. I'm not going to increase their misery. I want to end their suffering, and I'm not going to increase the causes of them being afflicted, in pain, confused, deluded, in the dark. Right? So that's the idea. Now, we're up to speed. We're on page 53. This is where the sutra tells us how the Bodhisattva plans to wake them up. And what he's going to do. What tools he's going to use. These are called the paramitas. Paramitas. And the last four paragraphs on page 53 are 4 out of 6 paramitas. Okay? They give the Sanskrit names. Funny. Our tradition came down in Sanskrit. We got it in Chinese, which is in the book here. Now we're busy putting it into English. So the Chinese translator gave us Shi Ming Tan Na Bo Lo Mi. This is called the Tan Na Paramita. Paramita is actually Sanskrit. So the Dana Paramita, we talked about it last week, is giving, generosity, perfection of giving, or giving and generosity that takes us across. That's the best kind of giving, that takes us from confusion to clarity, from darkness to light, from ignorance to the end of ignorance, awakening. That's paramita part, it's going across. So giving, generosity. We talked about giving of dharma last week, giving of courage. And we talked about things you can say when people are in fear or terror or just anxiety to change that situation. Okay? So the homework was, look at number 2. What does number 2 say? We read it just a minute ago. Neng mie yi qie zhu fan nao re. Shi ming shi lo bo lo mi. Able to wipe out the heat of affliction. That's called the perfection of shila. Shila is the Sanskrit word meaning precepts or morality, or could say ethical behavior, the right way to do stuff that is harmless. That's shila. Shila paramita, perfection of morality, the best way to be a human. Humans to perfection. Humanity to perfection. That's shila paramita. Okay, we said, there it is. What in the world is the connection between the perfection of morality or ethics and wiping out the heat of afflictions? That was your quiz. You can pass your blue books up. The monitor will collect them. We'll post your grades online. Some of you better... Yes, Roberto? See? Somebody was listening.
The right way of doing things. So, yes. So that's the right way of doing things, and that's the way that has good consequences. And if you don't follow sila, then you are going to bring trouble to you and to the world, basically.
And heat?
The heat, that doesn't ring a bell.
So let me say
it would be suffering in my perception, but
so let me say what you said. So in other words, the perfection of shila, the perfection of ethics, of morality, right behavior, is doing things the right way, so for yourself and for the world.
It's sort of the organic behavior. Yeah, let's another way of putting it.
And you said the consequences are that
favorable. Yeah,
things go well.
Things work in a favorable way.
What do you think? Should we give him 92 out of 100? That's a higher grade than you got last semester. So you've been studying, obviously. What's that? Bonus point for being first, that's right. But I can almost always count on Roberto to stick his hand. Okay, what did he say? He said, hold on, don't hold that thought, don't forget. He said, it's organic behavior that has the consequences that things work out right, things go well. So organic, that's an interesting, ripe word. Organic, with organs in it, meaning, what's an organ? The heart. It's like ta-tung, ta-tung, ta-tung. It functions. The Buddha's code of conduct is not some abstract, I will like you better if you do this. It's not. It's, if you do these things, there is a principle between heaven and earth that links. The organism will sustain itself. When it's organic, the organism lives. It's organic because it lives. Example, in the Pentateuch, in the Hebrew scriptures, we find the 10 Commandments, called the Decalogue. Starts with, don't kill. It says, thou shalt not, right? So, Judaism, Christianity, Islam all agree you don't kill. Things go better if you don't kill. For the person, the being killed, and for you, the killer. Better if you don't. Okay, first precept in Buddhism, perfection of Sila, do not kill. You can if you choose to. Things will go bad if you do. Short life, bad health. You the killer. Hinduism, in the Vedas, it says, must not, must cherish life. So all of the large institutional religions agree at their founding that that's fundamentally organic for humanity. If you want to sustain your community, don't kill. Interesting, huh? So there, yes, so that's I think that's what he means. It's organic. Connie.
Today I was reading a book called The Swerve. I think that's how you say the word. And Epicurus, I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Is anybody else having trouble hearing Connie? Was it? Yeah. Could you speak a little slower, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah. Try again. I think what you said was right, but I couldn't hear.
I read The Swerve today.
You read this one today?
Swerve. The book called Swerve.
The book called?
Swerve.
Swerve.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he mentioned the philosophy of this philosopher from, I think, the Roman Empire.
Okay.
Called Epicurus.
Epicurus?
Is that how you pronounce his name?
Epicurus. Yep.
And then he mentioned like this, like practicing, cultivating the mind so that you could reach enduring pleasure and eliminate, I guess, pleasure that generates afflictions. So, because like I guess pleasures, non-enduring pleasures would be like food.
It went away again. I'm having.
Okay, non-enduring pleasures he listed as like overindulgence in food, sex, and fame, and all that. And then, but yeah, you want to go for the enduring pleasures because they're more long-lasting. Enduring pleasure as in like simplistic way of living, and yeah, like instead of having the pregnant pig roasted for dinner, maybe like bread and cheese and water for dinner.
Was that? Yeah. The bread and cheese. Ooh.
And water, not wine.
And water, not wine. Ooh. That's why Epicurean philosophy died, and like nobody came back after the first banquet. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so the principle is.
I don't know if I'm getting to the point, but yeah. Okay.
So Epicurus was famous for eat, drink, and be merry. That was eat, drink, and be merry. Epicurus was, indulging your appetite's good. The more the better. But he
got it wrong.
Well, no, but you made the point that there are longer lasting. That was his short-lived pleasures. And it was so that has become an adjective, like Epicurean delights means something that touches all your taste buds at once. But he, I think you're in the right direction. He had other, deeper perspectives on it. It's not just that simple.
Okay.
Yeah. He divided the different kinds of. Yeah, good. Well, look at. Interesting. This is not okay. The definition of Shila Paramita is the ability to extinguish all the heat generated by afflictions. Are you guys going to get tired of my nature analogies? Because I've been watching, and there is so much drama in the family dynamics of a forest full of animals living together. This is it's the eucalyptus forest. They call it the bush. And they call them gum trees, not eucalyptus, gum tree forest. And there's these animals that are symbiotic with the forest. They come out with the forest includes these animals. Koalas, kangaroos and wallabies, flying foxes, the world's largest bats. Their wingspan like this, bats. And then the various kinds of snakes, and kookaburras rule a certain level of the trees. From the ground up to about 20 feet. Then there are possums and all kinds of lizards, like big Steven Spielberg type lizards. They're natural there. And the nice part about where we live is the habitat is still intact. So, the kookaburras and the currawongs, two kinds of birds with big beaks, are carnivores. They are not above raiding the nest of another bird and pulling out a baby and gobbling it down. While I was there, not this year, but the year before, one of the kookaburras, I don't know if it was Ali, my buddy, or it couldn't have been Ali, it was somebody else probably. The kookaburras from the other property, got one of the babies and flew off with it. And the mother and the father it might have been they were going so fast I really couldn't tell who it was. I think it might have been a honey eater, another species, was so upset at the loss of its child that it squawked in the forest for an hour. And it was brokenhearted. And they chased the kookaburra through the trees and around and back and up and down and over and under. And the kookaburra was, flying for its life, although it's a big bird, it can fly fast. And they never caught it, and it made off with its prey. But the grieving mother was shouting. And it echoed through the forest. It's a quiet place. I mean, everybody makes his cries various times of the day. But to have this screaming distress, it was a distressed call, and everyone was feeling it. You could just see there was, because it was echoing like that. And it was clear that that mother bird or father, whoever the parent bird, was really, really, really upset. They care about their offspring. Okay, point is what? That was killing, and they registered they had been stolen from. They wanted that kookaburra dead, or give it back, That was wrong. Something was torn. The fabric of the forest, but it's the way things are, As a result, the currawongs in particular, these large black birds with big beaks and yellow eyes, when they show up, they are not welcome anywhere. They keep their own company. As soon as they fly down, all the other birds are like, kookaburras, somehow they get a pass, but the currawongs are called wolves with wings because they raid nests and all. Anyway, we incorrectly slander animals by labeling human behavior as animalistic. Behaving like an animal, right? No, behaving like a human. Humans are way, 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 way more cruel and unreasonable and unethical than the birds and animals that I saw. For example, this is one, and consider this. I mean, I'm just reporting, right? Birds mate, reproduce so that their kids will appear when there's abundant food. If it's been a really, really dry year, drought everywhere, fewer babies. If it's a lot of food, they can have 2 or more, right? So they time their mating to conditions. And it's not the case, this forest goes through seasons. It's not the case that the kids appear when there's no food to feed them, right? Humans mate when it occurs to us, every opportunity, And we don't pay attention to whether or not the planet can sustain our offspring. I want to start a family, Or we don't even care about the consequences, So you could say, now, am I advocating state of nature is, the right way for humanity? I have, there's lots and lots of things to take into consideration. But what I saw was animals behave ethically, sustainably. So when Roberto says organic, I'm thinking organic would mean the organism lives. If you follow those rules, you live, right? They have got it figured out over how many, thousands upon thousands of years, the right way to do it so the kid has a better chance. And they time it to when there's more food. Makes sense, Somehow humanity has, I don't say it anymore, he's behaving like an animal. If only, as if. Wouldn't it be good if we did? So, interesting, huh? What is the definition of perfection of ethical behavior? You don't get hot. It's behavior that allows you to slip right through. You can stay cool. No friction. So where's that friction? You steal a baby out of a nest, you got friction. Squawk, squawk, squawk. Oh, I'll never forget that. It was heartbreaking, They chased the bird as far as they could, but they were smaller, and quit, and then just screamed, Oof. Un momento, por favor.
Okay, something that I just recollect, that animals usually hunt to satisfy their need, their immediate need, no more than that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a big a big difference too.
Yep. Animals hunt to satisfy their needs and stop when their hunger is satisfied. I don't know if anybody does Instagram. I guess I'm officially announcing that I do Instagram. One of my favorite Instagram feeds is called Sabi. That's the name of an African game preserve. Photos only. It's a camera place. And they have these photographers come down and take pictures of the wildlife. And the wildlife, African wildlife, they're in where? Mozambique or somewhere. The African wildlife come right, they're like me in the Australian bush. They're right in the center of this game preserve. And the photos, day after day, are astonishingly wonderful of the animals. And particularly the lions, the leopards, the cheetahs, and the panthers. And they're the people who run the Sabi Wildlife Reserve know all the animals because they're territorial and they know their names. And when they name the various tribes, prides of lions. When they miss a kill, they report it. When they get a water buffalo or a jumbuck or a wildebeest or something, they show. And how the animal, the Lions will use their teeth to rip the flesh off the kill, you know, and their muzzles get all bloody red, and they're like tearing it off. And then the hyenas, if there are too many hyenas, the killer of the water buffalo has to abandon his kill and flee, because the hyenas are fierce. And the cheetahs and the leopards are able to pull their kills up into a tree, where the dog animals, the wild dogs and the hyenas can't go, and they drag it up, and they have these pictures of, you know, going up, and you just go, whoa. So Roberta, you clicked me on that. I remember that, just to see the way it's done, and the photographs. They have super photographers who go out and just, they don't have to go very far. They have to go, you know, quarter mile to where all of this drama is going on. It's the Australian bush with carnivorous predators. Australia's largest alpha creature is a dingo, and dingoes, they're like large dogs. I mean, they mostly take rabbits, and they will kill kangaroos when they can, the old ones, but that's about all. And there's no lions, tigers, and bears in Australia. There's no alpha predator. So Africa's got all of them, the ones left. So if you want to see lions while they're still around, check out the Sabi Sabi Wildlife Game Refuge. That's not an endorsement. They don't pay me to say that. So what's the connection between ethics and heat? If we just said friction, you know you screwed up when you're getting hot. Sweating, people are giving you that look. Friction, right? Now, that doesn't mean there's no friction, you got away with it when you know it was wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But from the time you took your brother's bicycle without asking, or wore your sister's skirt without asking, and you knew that was wrong because she lumped on you, or you got punished and had your privileges taken away, sent to your room. Friction, right? And good parenting makes sure that the friction is there when the kids deserve it, when they've broken the basics. That's one of the worst results of Chinese state planning that said one child only, right? Raised for good reasons. There were reasons why the Chinese made that decision. There were too many people. But kids grew up without any socializing from their peers. And they got away with anything, right? So they didn't learn never felt any friction. Little princes, little princesses. So there's a lot to be said for brothers and sisters teaching you when you cross the boundaries. If you don't have any siblings, you have to learn from somebody. Or you don't learn. And you go out in the world thinking whatever I damn well please and can get away with is right. Oops. So, that's the Shila Paramita. You slip right through. Do another. Here we go. 慈悲为首，不损众生，是名禅体波罗蜜. For the Bodhisattva, the definition of kshanti, patience, paramita, is the ability to make kindness and compassion first and never harming sentient beings. Kindness and compassion. Okay, here's another one of those funny, how does it fit? How are these congruous? Patience is the name of this paramita, kshanti, and the definition is kindness and never harming. Ahimsa, that phrase. That's patience, right? You got to go patience, kindness, no harming. patience. What's the link between them? Patience usually is defined as wait. Usually unwillingly. I'll be patient. I'm disappointed, but I'll be patient. That's kind of the kitchen definition, right? You don't get what you want, you're told it might come, but later. Wait. So that's not what this is saying. That's the perfection of patience. That's not patience paramita. Patience paramita is what? Not harming. Always being kind. There's a patient immortal. There are figures in the Chan school who are held up as exemplars of patience. The ones who can really do it. And it's Maitreya Bodhisattva. This gets into all kinds of iconography, images. Who's Maitreya Bodhisattva? He's the big fat Bodhisattva. And he's not fat because he has food issues. It's because they say, 度大能容，容一切天下难容之事。开口便笑，笑一切世间可笑之人。His belly is big because he can hold all the things that are hard to endure in the world. He can endure all the stuff. He can take in everything that most people find impossible to bear. He can do it. His belly is big because of his capacity. You can't get him angry. That's half of the couplet. The other half says, he splits his face in a smile so full at the situations he finds laughable. Right? Can't get him angry. He just goes, oh, good. Okay. So that's Maitreya. That's why he's fat. It's not overindulgence. He's not entirely an Epicurean, right? So he's called the patience immortal. And he's actually, we've got a description. You got a songbook in front of you? Where is he? Let's see. Which one? Page 21. Page 21. This actually, as a matter of fact, will cue the music, Saul. Bring in the act. Here we go. Why not? The old fool wears tattered clothes, fills his belly with tasteless food, patches his robe to keep out the cold, and as things come, so they go. His belly's big 'cause he can hold. Praise so hot, blame so cold, splits his face in a smile so full at the situations he finds laughable. The jewel of patience, it's a pearl so rare. We really need to plug this in. It's no fun if you can't hear it. If someone scolds the old fool, here's the perfection of patience, right? He simply agrees. If someone hits the old fool, he smiles and falls down on his knees. Try it. Spit in his face, he lets it dry. He's not upset and you save your energy. The jewel of patience, it's a pearl so rare. His belly's big 'cause he can't hold praise so hot, flame so cold. Splits his face in a smile so full at the situations he finds laughable. The jewel of patience, it's a pearl so rare. Now you've heard of his patience kung fu. Maitreya wants to share it with you. If you set this aside and go seeking the Tao, well, I gotta ask, who's the old fool? Anyhow. Well, I didn't plan that, but we're talking about patience. So that's a Buddhist definition of patience, is Maitreya, who can hold all that. That might be the connection between patience and kindness and not harming. Instead of saying, how dare you, you can't say that to me, and whopping somebody, which then leads to escalation. In North America these days, it could lead to getting shot. You know, if the person that you whop is packing, you're in trouble. So, there you go. Can you take it? Can you wait instead of retaliating, is the question. Now, how do you do it? Because that anger comes really fast. And society totally endorses a masculine model of, you can't do that. You can't say that. Striking back. To be able to wait is really not the role, right? There's a really good classic film called The Quiet Man. Starred John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. It was in the 50s. My parents really liked this film. That's why I saw it. And John Wayne is an Irishman from Pittsburgh who goes back to Ireland. He's born in Ireland, raised in America, comes back to the town where he was born, and decides to move into his cottage that he was born in and buy it. So the big wealthy landowner takes an instant dislike to him and decides he's going to chase him away, and treats him badly in public and insults him, spits on him. And the John Wayne character doesn't retaliate. And he's a big, tough guy. And nobody can figure out why John Wayne takes all this abuse from the bully landlord. And the story goes on. It finally comes out that John Wayne is a prize fighter who killed somebody in the ring. In fact, a friend of his who he'd fought against several times, but hit him with the wrong punch and killed him in the ring, and swore off fighting. Said he'll never fight again. And so here he is now in Ireland with a real life situation, not a prize fight, where he has to defend himself. And so all the story is about being patient, how he takes it. And in the end, of course, it's a movie, it's a Hollywood film, so everybody at this point is calling him a coward, calling him, feeble, and the woman that he wants to marry considers him a coward, and so he's got all of the pressure of all of the things that he wants are hinging on him breaking his vow to fight. And the story builds up. Actually, it's based on a novel, so it's good literature. He finally is pushed into fighting because he's saving not just his reputation or his face, he's saving someone's life. And he has to fight. And the fight goes on, and he and the bully wind up becoming best friends because they fight all over town. The fight goes on for hours. It's an Irish story, right? So they take breaks to drink a pint and then, go back. Is this a private fight or can anybody join in? No, it's a private fight. All right. So anyway, to be able to wait and not punch back will save your life in North America now, because you don't never know. If you even raise an eyebrow at certain people, that's enough provocation to get yourself killed in Oakland, California, and other places. So there's a connection. If you say personally, fighting is what is how does Shifu teach it? He says, 争是胜负心与道相违背，变生四象心由和得三昧. Fighting is an attitude of winning and losing, victory and defeat. It stands in opposition to the way. Further, it creates the four-mark mind. Where is your samadhi going to come from? So when you fight, you wind up with a winner and a loser. The Tao does not affirm winners and losers. We just are, instead of being winners and losers, we are simply that spirit being, that bit of the Buddha nature in a borrowed body with more or less negative karma, more or less wholesome karma. That's it. There is only action. The action is essentially value-free until we harm. Then it's got values on it. And there is a point where you could say, even that action, even that valuing is just a convention, something we agree on. Ultimately, it doesn't have any value except killing does, stealing does, lust does, and lies do. Those are the four deeds that seem to pop up in every culture as being things that humanity, and they say the nature itself, labels as harmful. Killing, stealing, lust, and lying. To be avoided. And life goes better if you don't. Okay, so there we go. That's what there is. So can you take it? Can you wait? When somebody says, yo mama is so fat, go through the yo mama jokes, and pretty soon somebody's going to, you can't say that, pull out the gun. Though there are certain taboos, yo mama is taboo, So, can you be patient? If you can't, just add more karma. We've done it before. It's coming back to you. It's not over. You threw the punch, but it's coming back. It's not over. If you can wait, there's a possibility you can end it. Okay, so now there are big issues being introduced here. I taught a course at the Graduate Theological Union called With God on Our Side. And it took this issue to a national level. Which army marches into battle saying, God doesn't want us to win? God's on their side. We're going to fight anyway. Don't say it. God is always on your side. But the problem is, both sides are saying that. How can God be on both sides. Well, ask them. I'm not saying. You die. God wouldn't. Allahu Akbar. So, oh man, that's a big issue. Humanity does it every time. It's justifiable to kill. So, it's a big issue. So, and why I say it's huge is, okay, there's 2 young people here who have a small son. I happen to know that small son. What are you going to teach him about turning the other cheek? Should he let himself get beat up by bullies because it's right to do that and he should be? Or are you going to teach him to fight for himself, stand up for himself? I'm not a dad or a mom. That's a big one. If I think a really, really wholesome thing to teach children is martial arts. I think every kid should learn how to control their bodies, how to feel the anger rise up when you've been punched, and what to do with that, Because martial arts teaches you how strong you are and how strong someone else is, and when it's okay to take a punch and when it's very important to punch back. So Master Hua, when asked these questions, would say surprising things. He would say, every country has to have a strong defense. To think that a nation is going to survive without a strong military is foolish and naive. In his past life, he was a general many times, he said. So, not that you go to war, but if you don't protect yourself, the Kurwangs are going to fly in and rob your babies out of your nest. I saw it, So as a result, actually it was Kookaburra that took the babies. As a result, the birds that I saw and the animals posture. They go like that. Right? That's a pretty good imitation, by the way. Want to see it again? And the other birds go, oh, I don't want to mess with that. And there's no fight. Rarely do they actually ever touch. It's mostly done by posturing. And the other one goes, I don't think so. You're all right. And that's the way a lot of war is carried on among primitive tribes. You've done your thing, you went, you put the paint on, you got but you never actually crack a skull, because there's a good chance your skull will get cracked. And that's good, So I think teaching kids what it's like to be punched, feel that and to be able to punch, and then know when not to, because they know they can and they better not to, that's wholesome. You learn about your body. How strong are you? So that's kind of my take on it, and I'm not a dad. But so if you can, in a situation where there is aggression coming at you, if at that moment you can say, I could fight back, but I remember what happened last time. She didn't speak to me for a month, or I got fired from the job. It cost me $2,000 in repairs to the car. I'll wait. I'm going to transform that energy inside. Because why? That person who just called me a name, as I look at him, her, I realize it's not me. I'm just in the way. They're afflicted. It's them entirely. The surface is like, get out of the way, puh, But inside, they're hurting bad. Otherwise, they wouldn't have that face. It's not me. And if I go to war, then it's me. Then it's mine. But if I just say, oh, it's all right. We'll get through this. Would you like to go for a drink? you know. Or, you want to tell me about it. Something like that with no heat coming back, often that will melt. And the person say, yeah, I can't stand it. I just got the news that something's broken and you know. So, boy, is that hard to do. That requires seeing through the surface to what's really going on. If you only react to the surface, you wind up yet another story, you know. Something broke and you got to patch it up. So, this Bodhisattva says, right, patience is to see kindness and compassion in your heart as you look at people who are hurting. And you promise yourself that you're not going to increase their hurt. That's the perfection of patience. To be able to not retaliate. Not because you're a coward, not because you're weak. In fact, it takes more strength to be able to wait. That's harder. Okay. Let's do one more in the few minutes we got. Last line here. 求胜善法无有厌足，是名逼离也，波罗蜜. For him, the definition of the virya, strength, paramita, is seeking the finest of wholesome dharmas without ever feeling tired or fed up. Okay, what is this? Bodhisattva is interested in what is the perfection of virya. Sanskrit word clearly related to the word virile, right? Virility, masculine strength, potency, right? It's strength, you know. And we often translate it as vigor, the vigor paramita, but it's much closer to the idea of coming at it again. And what is it? Seeking wholesome dharmas. I think probably if I were doing it again, I would do capital D. I think it's Dharma. I think it's Buddhist teaching. It's not dharmas with a small d means things, phenomena. I think it's probably seeking the finest wholesome dharma and never getting tired, never getting fed up. What does it mean? It means you come at it again. You don't stop. It's much more long-term than it is hitting hard, right? It's meditating yet again, even when you're bored. It's time to go sit, you go sit. It's time to copy whatever it is you're copying, or do you say your prayers? Go do it. Right? Not quitting. Wuyenzu, it says, right? You're never tired of it. This is a bodhisattva's practice. They keep it moving. The teaching at the Wunwu school of Chinese martial arts was always one day of practice completed is 1 day of gongfu gained. 1 day of practice missed, 10 days of gongfu lost. And you go, wait a minute, that doesn't add up. That's bad math. Right? How does that work? And Master Jiang would say, ha! 1 generation, martial arts finished. Nobody works. So, ha! He would say. So, if you do it 1 day, you get 10 days. You get 1 day, 1 for 1, as you're gaining it, because you're going upstream. You're moving against your habits, moving against just the entropy in your cells, the calcium buildup in your cells. If you stop it 1 day, downstream. You ever try to row upstream? It's like, you're going like this. When you row, you got your back to where you're going, right? You're backwards in the boat. You're pulling the oars. And it seems like you're going nowhere. You look at the dock on the shore, it's like it's still there, and you're rowing, and it's still there, and you're rowing, and all you have to do is like take a break. The dock is back there. Oh, but if you keep at it bit by bit, the dock's back there now, and you reach the calm water. So cultivating martial arts is the same way. Cultivating the Buddha Dharma is the same way. You keep rowing. Seems like you're getting nowhere, try stopping. You'll see how you're doing. And further, the folks who you started with who quit along the way are so far back. Because a day they didn't meditate becomes a week, they didn't meditate becomes a month, they didn't meditate becomes, So it's really, that math actually is experience. That's how it works. The definition of virya paramita is seeking the finest dharma without ever feeling tired or fed up. That's for, I've got 2.5 of our monastic sangha here in the room, and one of the things that was always that made my life much easier was knowing that when I was not here lecturing, that Jin Chuan, Jin He, Jin Fo, and Qin Xian coming up could step in and keep the Dharma wheel turning without fear. That this monastery has got an energy here of loving the Dharma, and that was such a comfort to me, because it's important that we do this on a Saturday night, that we open these ancient texts and look in. What can we learn? And what I try to communicate is an attitude that I observed from Master Hua, which was, he would say things like, he would say, I ask myself all the time, do I really understand what the Buddha said? And he meant it. It was humility. It was such a simple statement. Do I really understand? I want to find out what the Buddha meant. When I look at these. Yeah, so do I. You don't know, Shifu? You don't know? We count on you to tell us what it... No. We all look into it. Do you understand what the Buddha meant? If not, let's look into it. Let's check it out. So there was never ownership. That's Buddhism. Buddha Dharma. Yeah, Or, I understand, you don't understand. None of that. There's no self-overlay. It's like, this is wonderful stuff. Let's look into it. To have that approach was so refreshing from Shifu, and that you all want to come and do it too. Want to come and look into it. It's like, well, all the things that could be happening on a Saturday night, we came to sit on the floor of this old church and open an ancient text and, ask questions about it. That's good. That's a good thing. Okay, to be continued. Now, next Saturday night, we'll be here as usual. Sunday morning, some of us are going to be heading north to Oregon for a week-long retreat. But this will continue. We'll look into the next two, 5 and 6 of the paramitas, and then 4 more that are unique to the Avatamsaka. The paramitas, there are usually 6 of them. The Avatamsaka typically makes 10 out of any list. And so there are 10 paramitas, and we'll just look into what those are. Okay, we're going to first transfer the merit so that folks who are joining us online. Jerry, how many people we have today? How many? 29, super. 29 people. So they can all, some people are watching from far away, and we want to transfer the merit. They don't necessarily want to stick around for the last half hour. So we'll let them get a full sutra lecture experience with transferring merit. Oh, here we go. Hello. What's happening here? Ah, no wonder. One of the joys of the 12th string. C sharp, please. Thank you very much. What do they say? Get it in tune and have it welded, right? Okay. So on this sheet, and you have a songbook. Turn to the back of the songbook. Dedication of merit. With our hearts, we're going to send out goodness. Do that perfection of giving that we talked about. May every living be our minds as one and radiant with light. Share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, to joy. May kindness find reward, may all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Mostly in tune. Well, given the time, I had another song, but I'm going to save it for next week. I've been working on Master Yongjia's Song of Enlightenment, Zheng Dao Ge, and I've got finally it clicked to where it's ready to share, but we don't have the time, and we'll do it next week. Previews of coming attractions. Got to come back next week to hear Zheng Dao Ge played on a bottleneck slide guitar. By golly. what we're going to do instead now is share a little bit of some images that I think you'll enjoy from the Queensland bush, something special that I was delighted to to see in front of my lens. So let's bring the slide screen down, turn the projector on, and get on with the show. You're looking at a mother brushy-tailed possum. Her name is Pauline, and her offspring named Percy. And we first saw Percy when he was just kind of bubbling around in her pouch, because they're marsupials, like kangaroos, carry the babies in their pouch. And we would go, myself and Sam Ong, who lives in the back, go, oh, it looks like there's something moving in there. And yeah, in fact, she's pregnant. Okay, well, good. Then we saw this foot come out of the pouch when she was up there by herself, and it was pink and hairless and yicky, and like, whoa, that's weird, you know. And then 2 weeks later, the foot has fur on it, same color as her. And then we're seeing, she's like waddling a lot. And then we think, one of these days, I think I've seen possums carry their babies on their back. And sure enough, up comes Percy the possum riding on Mom. And he's discovering humans because Mom is not afraid of us. Mom is used to us. And so Percy learns from the start that humans are okay. But even at this point, he was like, he'd pull back because, first of all, there's a motion-detected light, and it blinds them. They're nocturnal critters, and couldn't quite see. But we've got apple scraps, apple peels up here, and you see that Percy's been watching Mom go for the apples, and he's really interested in getting one for himself. Yummy. Yes. Score. And his teeth are really soft. His teeth aren't there yet, so this is just about right. A sliced apple. Okay, and so bit by bit, Percy gets bigger, and Mom can't quite, they come down to eat, and there's Percy on top of Mom. And he's clinging on there for dear life. And he's pretty big. She just endures his claws because his claws are super sharp, and that's how he holds on. And he's sniffing because he smells something edible. And I'm not going to wait. His teeth, there's dried corn in there, which is super hard, and his teeth can't quite chew. Look at Mom's fur from Percy's claws. Oh, the baby's on his own. He's about, I think, 2 months at this point. Mom is super cautious. The baby is totally clueless. All he knows is there's food there, but it hurts his teeth. Mom is keeping a sharp eye out for anything that might be sneaking up on him. And that's the sound of corn kernels being crunched, right? Crunch, 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 crunch. Okay, you gotta wait for it here. Mom detects something dangerous. Uh-oh. Time to go. The baby's like, what? Oh, okay. Watch this. Mom goes, and the baby's like, oh, well, you know, it's like food. What? Huh? Oop. What? Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm here by myself. What do I do? Now, that's not so bad. What's worse is okay, he didn't have a very good seat, and time to go. Oh no. I think I saw him fall off the railing once, and so it's not entirely a secure seat, but oh my goodness. So those are some of the, let's see here, that's one of the, oh, by the way, here's the magpie. This is the bachelor magpie after his mate disappeared. This is before he met the next girlfriend. Very elegant, absolutely fearless. If the magpie decides that you are a threat to their babies, they will dive bomb you and make contact. So mothers send their kids to school with bicycle helmets on, because the magpie will go right for the head and bang against the bicycle helmet. That's a magpie. What I wanted to share was these guys. Totally different Jingjia. This is the day crew. The possums come at night. This is the day team. Same spot, by the way, and the same pot, you'll notice. That's the same food pot. So the this is the home team. There's a couple who live close by. They too mate for life, and these are the local couple. That invasion by the whole tribe of lorikeets happened a couple times, and they just tolerate it. They're not happy to have their territory invaded. But if I'd had one more month, I would have gotten these guys onto my finger. They were getting closer and closer. But we'll have to wait until next trip. These are called rainbow lorikeets, and they're part of the parrot family. And they are utterly fearless. I've seen them stand down a turkey that is, 30 times bigger than they are. They will charge the turkey, and the turkey is like, oh, 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 oh. Calm down. Okay, so just some snippets. I've got a package of. Oh, by the way, we had to put Percy on a diet. That's the baby possum 3 weeks ago. He doesn't stop eating. We started to feed him once every other night, every 2 nights. Look at him, Percy. My goodness. It's so good, I just can't stop. This is another view of the same possum. Here he is imitating his dad. This is how the adult male, see, he's grown quite a bit now. He will not fit on mother's back anymore. She booted him off. So he's learning the ropes, learning how to be a grown-up possum. His eyes can't see because of the light, so he's using his nose and his ears. Sniff, sniff, sniff. And yes, you can pet them. Long as there's food involved. Little to the left, better, left. Okay, last picture, just so cute. Banana. There we go. So I would be working at night, and just about 9 o'clock, fairly punctually, we can turn off now. I would see these eyes look around the door, possum feeding time, and come out and get to know. Jinfo Shi, do you want to tell everybody what's going to happen? Do we have any events coming up next week? Jinfo Shi, anything? Tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is Buddha recitation. Jingxing Nianfo.
Yeah.
7:30? Great. 7:30 to 4:30. All right. Chance to recite the Buddha's name. Then what?
That's otherwise we have a regular schedule. We have
I think Tuesday night, Ajahn Jyotipala will be coming down to give the Dharma talk for Baigiri. So first Tuesday. Thursday we have the East Bay meditation. Yeah, East Bay Insight Berkeley. Sorry, I don't quite remember their name, but Insight Meditation community. And on Saturday we still have our regular sutra lecture, but after that, Heng Sure will be lecturing because we'll be at Buddha Root Farm.
Right. The following weekend, we'll be up north. Heng Sure is going to be lecturing on the Pure Land Sutras. And
Wuliang Shou Jing.
Wuliang Shou Jing, huh? Good. Yeah, Sutra Limitless Lifespan. Okay. What did I want to say? So we hope the folks will continue to, come for. If you're in the neighborhood, come try our daily meditation. David is here, managed to make it twice a day. I mean, talk about Dharma protection. So, all right, let's bow to the Buddhas. Thank you all for sharing your wisdom tonight, and we'll see you next week. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Bow